Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at Yasha'yah.com.
Yep, do love the byline. Hello, Roger. It's good to see you as an avatar and as a real person. And Kevin, likewise on both counts. We're going to begin the vlog on the vlog, which is a video presentation of the blog. We kind of bounce between X and Facebook, depending on which one is behaving at the moment. Both of them have their issues. At the moment, X is an easier platform to use than is Facebook. The Facebook thought police have really become obnoxious here recently. X just shuts you down so that you have no influence over anybody, so no one sees your posts. But they'll give you a feed. Unfortunately, they'll only give you a feed on the things that you click on previously, as opposed to those that you've chosen to follow. They will never show you those things. So it's both are really a horrible environment. But to get people out of that environment and the ability then to listen to the news from a very different perspective and to analyze what was presented incorrectly in the swamp of this day will be on X as the purpose of this show. And we begin with Jeffrey Sachs. Jeffrey Sachs is an interesting character. He's a professor at Columbia, and he has Columbiitis, which means that he is a raging anti-Semite. Columbia has positioned itself as the home of anti-Semitism in the United States, maybe even the capital of anti-Semitism in the world, and he has got it in the extreme degree. He is right about a number of things, and he is dead wrong on other things. He is now on Tucker Carlson's show in this particular excerpt that we're going to play, and Tucker Carlson is the most vile anti-Semite today on the planet. He is not only a Twistian, and as a Twistian, he is believes the New Testament, which condemns Jews for killing the Christian God, which is, of course, absurd. But absurdity has never bothered the faithful. He is also bribed by Choter, which makes him particularly problematic, and by his own admission, he is demon-possessed. But nonetheless, in the world of social media, he is exceedingly popular because, well, the world of social media is filled with morons. Jeffrey Sachs, in this particular interview, reveals something that is partially true, that the downfall of Assad was a CIA scheme. The CIA has schemed some 100 regime change operations since the end of World War II, and they've gotten all of them wrong. So it's an organization that is 0 for 100, making a mess of everything. The biggest mess was probably the return of the Ayatollah and the removal of the Shah of Iran. And that was its third regime change operation in Iran, but it created the mess that we're dealing with now. The CIA is a menace to the world. He says that this was under order by Obama, and that's misleading because the CIA operation against Assad began much earlier than that. And the CIA will couch it as the same thing they would say about removing Muammar Gaddafi or removing Saddam Hussein, as these were terrible men, and therefore they were doing a good thing for the world and for democracy by removing them. What they don't tell you is that they could give two hoots about what's good for the world. They could care less about people's lives, and they embrace all manner of rotten dictators. Murderous men would be the kinds that they would like to replace, so long as they can control them. They went after these men for different reasons, but the common theme is the CIA wants to control every government in the world, and they want them all to buy American weapons, because if they become a client of America in terms of weapons, it's not only good for the bosses of the CIA, which would be the military-industrial complex, but also they become more controllable if they're an American weapon client. So Saddam Hussein was controlled by America, was given American weapons, but then he decided that he would exert his influence over other America clients than those that were protecting and promoting the petrodollar. So America went after him, blamed him of harboring Al Qaeda, which did not exist in Iraq, and having weapons of mass destruction, when the only weapons that he had were those that the CIA and the United States had provided to him. Then you go into Muammar Gaddafi, and Muammar Gaddafi's crime against America was that he came up with a means, because he ran such a profitable country, to use gold to create a gold-backed currency to free Africa from the control of the United States by using an African-based gold standard currency. And for that, he was killed. In the case of Assad in Syria, his crime was that he bought Russian weapons as opposed to American weapons. And you say, no, he was ousted because, he gassed large numbers of his people. Yeah, he did. So did his father, and the CIA and America wouldn't have given a crap if it hadn't been for the fact that he didn't play along with American weaponry. So you can tell, too, that they don't care, because they end up replacing Assad with the gentleman that was the head at the time of the Islamic State. So we're not a virtuous organization. So anyway, he claims that it was Obama that gave the order, and it was not. This operation existed long before Obama, trying to create regime change in Syria, and it failed like everything else that the CIA does. And then Tucker Carlson, has this, well, can you tell me why they did it? Because Tucker Carlson is a literal mental midget. And of course, I've already told you the reason he did it, which is because he was under the Russian sphere of influence and bought weapons from Russia as opposed to the United States. And of course, as soon as they got the Islamic State head, Jolani, in Syria, he immediately said, "Oh, I'll buy weapons from America so long as you give them to me. And we'll allow Turkey to use Syria, no problem, as part of NATO." So that's the actual reason. But because he is a professor at Columbia and has anti-Semititis, Jeffrey Sachs decided to blame Israel for the reason. So he answered the question that Tucker should not have had to ask by line, and condemning Israel as opposed to just going right to the baseline answer. And by the way, he's not stupid. He's just evil. He knew the answer. He just chose to lie about it. So we'll play a moment of it, and now that you know the truth.
What happened was the U.S. got bogged down in Iraq. There was the insurgency. We didn't move onward to the next war, which was to be Syria, which was to happen already 20 years ago. But in 2011, what really brought Assad down last week started under Obama. And yes, and this is also interesting. It doesn't really matter who's president. This is long-term deep state policy. Obama ordered the CIA to overthrow Assad. So that started in 2011.
But why would Obama want to overthrow Assad?
Because Israel has run American foreign policy in the Middle East for 30 years.
Stop it here. So this piece of shit first blames the deep state for coming up with a policy going way back before Obama. And then the same piece of shit who pretends to be a professor contradicts himself, and he says, to appease Tucker, where he gets a big audience, that it was the Israeli lobby. Now, you can't have it both ways, pal. One or the other. So he just flat out contradicted himself and lied, showing his overall prejudice and racial hatred of Jews. I can tell you, Israel had no vested interest as to who was over Syria. Syria was the least of Israel's problems by that point. They had defeated Syria hands down 3 times over. And so the last thing they needed was to deal with Syria, and the fact that that if they were buying Russian weapons, the Russian weapons were inferior to the weapons they were deploying, and so it was mute. And Assad had no ability to project a military attack on Israel again.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing that could possibly happen to Israel is for a government in Syria to have an allegiance with Turkey, because Turkey is a genuine threat to Israel. It's the biggest threat to Israel. It's not Iran, but overwhelmingly it's Turkey. And by having the Islamic State run Syria, the Turkish influence has gone up exponentially, which is devastating for Israel. When Assad was there, Assad and Erdogan were enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Assad was a Ba'athist, which means he was not a fundamentalist Muslim. And just like Saddam Hussein was not a fundamentalist Muslim, he was a Ba'athist as well. Erdogan is a fundamentalist. He views himself as the Islamic Messiah. And so with that lightning overthrow of the Assad regime with hardly firing a shot that took place in Syria when Jolani's forces took Damascus was all orchestrated in equipment and weapons and uniforms and vehicles that were supplied by Turkey. And Turkey is the henchman now over Syria, which puts Israel in a very vulnerable position. So this was catastrophic for Israel, and it was favorable for America, and that all America cares for is in the military industrial complex. Who's buying the damn weapons? And so that was the nature of this. And so he's dead ass wrong, and he even contradicts himself. And you got Tucker who couldn't have 2 brain cells linked together to fire simultaneously. And the result is they appease their audience by demeaning Israel.
Not to mention, Obama is the absolute last pro-Israeli president of the last 10, 20 years. You know, I mean, Obama absolutely hated Netanyahu. He hates Israel, everything to do with them. And
right. And both of these clowns know that. Both of these clowns know that Obama hated Israel. And so they're saying that he's saying that the motivation for Obama telling the CIA to replace Assad was Israel, when they know for certain, overwhelmingly, that it's undeniable that Obama despised Israel. So it's so sad how dumb those who are popular as influencers on social media have become. And while there is no fact checking.
No, it's every chance they get, it's disparage Israel. It's down with Israel. It's Israel's fault. It's like the talking points.
Yes.
Over and
it's
over
going
again.
back. Yeah, it's going back to 1930s Europe.
Yeah.
Where everything was blamed the Jews. Yeah, it's back to the protocols of the elders of Zion. We're gonna have all manner of lies and blame the Jews.
Yeah.
And the most amazing thing about the blame the Jews scenario is that everything they blame the Jews for doing, the Goyim have done to the Jews.
Yeah.
I mean, the Goyim have been genocidal towards the Jews. They've imposed apartheid against the Jews. They've subjugated them. They've slaughtered them. They've tortured them. They've robbed them of their dignity. They blame them for killing their God. The Goyim have done to the Jews everything they project the Jews doing falsely against them. And so it is such a stupid lie. It's just heartbreaking to see it portrayed over and over and over again in social media. And it's heartbreaking to see how many people buy into it. But that's why when God said, listen, I despair, I regret having created humankind. When there are a lot of humans together, they are universally evil. And the most popular programs on social media, which is the most popular means of communicating information today, which you see as people universally evil. God's assessment of humankind is accurate today, just as it was 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
We are awful and we are worse together.
Wasn't the CIA founded from an organization that was founded right around the beginning of World War II?
No, it was the end of World War II because
World War II,
intelligence
okay.
prior to that was military intelligence, and so the CIA was created really as a result of recruiting Nazi officers, Nazi intelligence officers, into America, and so we recruited Nazis. That was the basis also of our space program.
Came out of the OSS
Yeah.
OSS,
Yeah.
yes.
in 1948,
Yeah.
along with the British.
Mm-hmm. So they just filtered Nazis through the existing system and renamed it. Yeah. So here's Tucker Carlson, and I'd say that Tucker is worse than the triple T's, the Trump tush talkers. Here he is claiming that Israel or the United States and that Trump is a slave to Israel. Now, the fact of the matter is that Netanyahu just flew in again to the United States. And when he came to the United States, he was not greeted by the acclaimed slave. He did not have a delegation from the White House. There was no vice president. There was no secretary of state. Supposedly your most important ally, and there was not a single American contingent there to greet him. The president of Lebanon received a red carpet, and when he pulled up, there was nothing but a wet tarmac. So this idea that Trump is a slave to Netanyahu, when at this point Netanyahu is a slave to Trump, is so moronic again that you just have to question the retardation that is necessary to create a person like Tucker Carlson. He is, yes, I know he has admitted that he is demon possessed. Yes, I know that he has received millions of dollars in bribes from Qatar. Yes, I know that he has gone from a nominal Christian to one who realizes that to have an audience in social media, you must play the Twistian MAGA card. So, I mean, I understand all of these things that he has done for his own popularity, but it doesn't take an intelligence level over, a 50 IQ to realize that he's full of it, that there is no substance to his claims. The opposite of what he is claiming in terms of the Trump-Netanyahu relationship is true. Netanyahu is a vassal of the United States, and he is slave to Trump. Trump tells Netanyahu what he can and cannot do. Netanyahu has no influence at this point over Trump. In fact, the matter is, nobody other than Satan has any influence over Donald Trump.
Yeah, when was the last time a slave state or a vassal state put a military base inside of their the guys that controlled them, right? I mean,
is there an Israeli military base in the United States?
No.
No. Is America now building military bases in Israel?
Yes.
When Israel's defense minister went on news yesterday and said that the reason that Israel is not engaged in attacking Iran anymore is they were told they could not do so by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So there you go. Trump dictates to Israel. Israel doesn't always obey, but they do their best to give lip service and obedience. And throughout Israel now, particularly in the like Tel Aviv, there are huge billboards promoting the messianic concept of Donald Trump. They view Donald Trump as a messiah, even as he betrays them. It's the saddest thing to watch Israel venerate the devil while turning a deaf ear towards God. It's sad. They're self-destructive because of this. But Israel is venerating their Messiah. They are. They might as well be slave to him, and certainly Netanyahu is.
the Rahab in the red hat is already getting started.
Yeah, it is. It's over for Israel. They've been checkmated. This is a problem. He's speaking Russian, so you're not going to be able to understand this. But the closed captions are in English and they're bold, so I think that you can hear it. And I'm going to walk you. I'm going to walk you through it. Well, let's see what you can see before. Okay, you've cut the sound. I'll talk over it. So what he is saying, he's addressing a large crowd. He is one of the most subdued I've ever seen of Putin. He's essentially apologetic. He gave an award to someone, and the person that he gave an award to says, Mr. President, you need to be bolder with Ukraine. And so Putin's response, and he's grabbing both sides of the rostrum. He's trying to lean on it, and his voice is really weak. And he said, just like the economy, there's challenges that we must deal with. There's risks. There's risks to Russians on the battlefield. We have to be very cautious, and we have to proceed according to the plan. And if we go outside of the plan and are any bolder, then the risks are too high. So today, Moscow was hit again, and there were major explosions all around the city. Leningrad, not Leningrad, it's now St. Petersburg again. Excuse me, I've been to Russia so many times. It was Leningrad most of the times that I was in Russia. But St. Petersburg was bombed during the middle of his conference. A huge percentage now of Russia's refinery capability and storage capacity for oil and gas has been destroyed. And all the while, Putin threatens Europe and does nothing. And so the real question here is, and the answer by this speech appears that we now know the truth of the matter.
Yeah, he's going to sit back and take it.
Yeah, that Putin is now stuck in a rut of his own conception. He thought that if he had a limited plan in the Ukraine, that he wouldn't antagonize Europe and that he could outlast the anti-Russian heads of state in Europe, and that at the end of the war have Europe as a client of Russia as opposed to an enemy of Russia, and that the United States would be reasonable to deal with and ending the war that it started. And so that was his plan, and so it was just a slow go to claim the territories in Ukraine that were ethnically Russian, that were being threatened by the regime change operation that the CIA had put in place in Ukraine. And it was a very slow, methodical, costly process that Putin deployed to protect the ethnic Russian oblast and eastern Ukraine. But while he has captured most of the Russian territory in eastern Ukraine, probably 85% of it at this point, he's nowhere pursuant to Odessa or to Kiev. He is nowhere in terms of protecting Russian territory from missile and drone attack. He is nowhere in terms of toning down the hatred of Russia, and he's lost the propaganda war. 9 out of 10 people believe the lie as opposed to the truth, and he's losing his own country. So he got himself in this rut of, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to, we're going to try to win this war to protect Russians without destroying Ukraine and without destroying our reputation in the world. But there is a point, and he's way past it, where caution is far more dangerous than being bold. There are times where you just have to be bold. I've always been the kind of fellow that if I have created an injury and it's just a nagging, aching injury, I would much prefer to experience intense pain for a short period of time than just long, prolonged, aching pain. And that's where he is right now, and he can't get over where he has been. He's in a rut. I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's ego, but the plan he conceived might have been based upon rational thinking originally. It failed, and at some point he has to realize it's failed. And the reason that I want him to realize it's failed, of course, is that if he continues to lose as he is now, I mean, yes, he's controlling more and more territory in Ukraine. On the battlefield, it's eight attacks and 10 are favor Russian success, and Ukraine is fighting a hopelessly losing battle on the battlefield. But they're inflicting greater and greater pressure on Russia economically and Russian society, and have rallied Europe to the point that at least the politicians want to go to war with Russia. This only ends one way, and that's in a nuclear holocaust. So this is really a very dangerous game that needed to be dealt with more aggressively to preclude a nuclear holocaust. And I'm disappointed that in Putin for not standing up. I thought he was a man of better character and competency than what he has displayed.
It's almost like two boxers in the ring, slugging it out, trading body blows, and who can absorb the most body blows is going to be standing at the end of the day. Zelensky was just in London talking to the new PM, and they're developing a new high velocity drone with bigger warheads on it just to attack Moscow.
Yes.
England is already overtly in the war.
Yes. So is France. So is Germany.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of time before this spills over.
Yeah. So are the Balkan countries. Yeah, they all are. And it's because he won't draw a red line. He won't respond when this is happening by Europeans. And because he won't respond, they just continue to take the battle to Russia. And he's on the edge of losing his country. And if that happens, Russia will go out with a nuclear attack. So that's what the world is up against. And the fact of the matter is that 80% of Russians want the war to be fought more aggressively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not seeing an upside for Russia in any of this. They got the Crimea way back in 2016, right? I mean, so economically, that's what they wanted, was the port city, there. Otherwise, there's nothing in Ukraine that they are protecting the ethnic Russians in stop. I mean, of course, they don't want NATO to put missiles there and stuff, but it's costing them now in the amount of rationing that's going on, that they're pulling resources, oil and gas and things from further out, Vladivostok, Tomsk, Omsk, the Urals areas, to feed Moscow. That they're rationing fuel. It's starting to hurt Russians and stuff.
Yeah, their refinery is compromised, and their distribution channels are compromised, and their people are being attacked. Their buildings and refineries and many other things are being destroyed. So I can assure you that if he continues what he just said in this speech, that he will lose control of Russia, and he will put the world at the precipice of world war, because Russia will be defeated, and Russia has a dead hand switch for defeat. And it's not Ukraine that is defeating Russia. It is Putin that is defeating Russia, because he's not willing to effectively stand up against the united European and American onslaught of his country. And that makes for a very, very weak individual. This was very pathetic, what we just saw. I mean, it was really pathetic. I'm really disappointed for for Russians. I've spent a lot of time in Russia. I like Russians. One of the most spectacular countries that I have had the privilege of visiting, and I've been there many, many times. And while I'm a huge antagonist towards communism and socialism during the USSR days, and I don't like this man's affinity for the Orthodox Russian church. The fact is that just as a people and as a country, it is a beautiful place that does not deserve what America and the West are seeking to do to it, to destroy it. And I will always side with the victim when a crime of this magnitude is being perpetrated against them. And the evidence in this case is undeniable. It's irrefutable that the United States and the EU are the perpetrators, and Russia is the victim of the Ukrainian proxy war. And so it saddens me when the victim isn't willing to fight to protect itself, and that is what we're witnessing now with Putin and Russia. And you cannot help somebody that isn't willing to help themselves. So he's pushed it to the point now where I don't think there's anything you can do to help him. And simply having the buffer zone and protecting the ethnic Russians in the east of Ukraine from being beleaguered and badgered by the factions that the government that the CIA imposed on Ukraine is not enough. I mean, he cannot prevail unless he takes Odessa. Should have taken Odessa a long time ago, and he has to rid Kiev's viability as a survivable city to take down that regime. And all he really has to do to take down the regime is to make the war look unwinnable and life untenable long enough for people to execute Zelensky and put the country out of its misery. But he's not willing to do it. And he's not willing to bomb UK, Germany, and France production facilities of weapons that are systems that are being used against his country. So,
or even the places where these attacks on Moscow are coming from. These are not originating in Ukraine. Okay, they're these attacks.
Most of them are, but not all of them. But most of them are. It's the guidance that is provided by Germany, the UK, the United States, some even by the Mossad, and so MI6. So it's the target guidance is being provided by America and the Europeans for the most part, and the technical expertise and many of the drone components are being made in Europe, and so they're supplying Ukraine with the tools to kill Russians. But that's been the purpose of the Ukrainian proxy war. That's what Lindsey Graham used to brag about. He thought it was the best investment ever, is giving the Ukrainians the weapons to go kill Russians, and that's what Europe and the United States are still doing. And ultimately, you can't protect your country unless you retaliate against those who are using the Ukrainians as cannon fodder to kill you. So that's the position he's in, and he's somehow seems to have got himself in a rut where he is blinded now to reality.
Yeah, I think even if the war ended today in a truce or a ceasefire along the current lines, that would basically mean nothing, because the Ukrainians in the West would just use that time to build up more resources, more armies, and just come in and attack him again.
Correct.
This is going to continue on no matter what.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's NATO has to be eliminated for there to be peace in Europe, and because NATO is so belligerent, and Trump is so belligerent, and the leaders of the UK, France, Germany, and the Baltic countries are so belligerent, this war is not going to end in anything less than a nuclear exchange. But that's really what we're witnessing also in Iran, where we've had now a sixth day of no bombing, which means one of three things and only one of three things, and you can pick which one you want. But it's either Trump is no longer able to convince Simcom to bomb civilian targets since they're out of military targets to bomb. And Simcom has said there is nothing we can do to change the course of this war by continuing to bomb. So it means that he has no one to execute his orders in that regard. Number two, that the Joint Chiefs are correct in telling Trump we're out of munitions and we're out of interceptors, and therefore we cannot continue a war when we do not have the ballistics to perpetrate against Iran. Or number three, that he is genuinely so sinister, so demonic, so out of his ever-loving mind that he is considering a land invasion of Iran. And if that is the case, and he's storing up the reserves necessary to do that, then you will witness something far worse than any military defeat that has ever been witnessed. This is far worse than Waterloo here. He sends American troops in to invade Iran. It will not only be a killing field, but they can't be supported. There is no end. You would need 2 million troops to occupy Iran. It would be a devastating loss of life, and you would gain nothing. Literally, you'd gain nothing in the process. There is nothing to be gained and everything to lose. And that's where we are. Yeah, this is what happened in Moscow. It's one of a number of buildings, very large drones. This is over a factory, but it's one after another, and they were all in the suburbs of Moscow. So, what are you going to do about it, Putin?
Yeah, I was
turn the other cheek. Is he a Jesus freak now? He's going to turn the other cheek.
Was seeing pictures of people and video of people getting off the flights into Moscow, and they were just their faces. Their jaws were dropping, and they were taking pictures of the sky. The entire sky was dark over Moscow. It was unbelievable with this gray type of smoke. Wow. right from the airport. It was just unbelievable.
And Moscow is such a beautiful city to have that happen to it. And it's, at this point, it's happening because Putin's unwilling to respond. Putin has more troops than all of Europe combined by several times. And his troops are better trained, better led, and better supplied than all of Europe combined. And he has better weaponry and far greater capacity to build weapons than all of Europe combined. And yet he is allowing the Europeans to hammer him. And that's a patsy. All right, so here is this person, and Muhammad, bad boy, he stoned adulterous women. That's actually not true. And here is Jesus, and he supported and he cared for the adulterous woman. Well, let's be real clear here. You're an absolute idiot, faith under pressure. You ought to blow your belief stack and come to know the truth. So let's start with Muhammad. Yeah, Islam is misogynist. No question about it. Muhammad was a rapist. He was a pedophile. Those are undeniable facts based upon the Islamic scriptures. However, the Quran is quite clear in how to treat a woman who is suspected of adultery. First, the man gets nothing. Gets a pat on the back. Nice job. A man can rape. A man can be a pedophile. He can do whatever he wants to do to women, and there's nothing that can be done to the man. But a woman is the victim of rape. She is not stoned. She is lashed. She receives 100 lashings. So you don't know the damn Quran. And if you don't know the Quran, and if you don't know the Hadith, and you don't know anything about Islam, then shut the eye hole, because you look like a raving idiot. Now, as it pertains to mythical Jeebus and drawing his little sign in the sand, the story of the adulterous woman and he is without guilt cast the first stone. You idiot. It was written in the 8th century. It's the 8th chapter of John, and that story is omitted from every manuscript prior to the 8th century. Every single manuscript is devoid of that story. It first appears in the 8th century. It was created by Twistians in the 8th century because there was nothing in the New Testament where the myth of Jesus opposed the Torah. So they created this story and they inserted it into the book of John. So it didn't happen. So now what? You were 0 for 2, faith under pressure. You bungled it. You're an idiot. Why is it that people on social media think that it's their duty to not only show that they are ignorant, but to prove it? Really frustrating to see this kind of stuff. And you want to make a difference in your life. And I think we lost Kevin here, so we'll hope we get him back somehow. But you want to make a difference in your life? Then read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion. Matter of fact, you don't even have to read. That's perfect for faith under pressure. Click on the books and they'll talk to you. They'll turn the pages. They'll tell you where they are by highlighting the text. Listen to the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, and you will know about Islam. And then listen to the 5 volumes called Twistianity that disprove the Christian religion, and you'll know about that one too. You wouldn't make a fool of yourself, and you might do something useful with your life. Welcome back there, Kevin. Can we go to the next slide there?
Missed me for a minute,
yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting picture. You have to go up a little higher for the people to be able to see it on your screen. But there is Netanyahu and Sarah coming into Washington, and there's literally no one there to greet them. That's an Israeli official there, and there is not a single official from the Trump White House, or not a single official from the State Department. There is no red carpet. There is nothing. He shows up, and it's nothing but wet tarmac. And
our greatest ally.
Yeah, there that Tucker Carlson says that he controls Trump. That Trump is his slave. No Trump's there. No red carpet there. No State Department there. No bands there. No cheering crowds there. No nothing. What these guys do typically like this, they have, Zelensky did it the other day, they have their own pilot, their own flight crew, get out of the airplane and line that section there. So they have someone to acknowledge and to shake their hands for the photo op. That Zelensky just flew in yesterday too, and that's exactly what he did. He had his pilot come down and his flight crew, and he saluted his own pilot and flight crew. It's that pathetic too for Netanyahu. He's being set up for total and complete betrayal and abandonment.
Well, at least you're set your pecking order that way, for sure. Who are we going to insult today?
Yep. And at this point, Netanyahu is the pawn to be exploited and insulted.
And these planes are huge. These planes are huge. They could carry, not several hundred, but at least 60 people, 80 people.
Oh, yeah, they could have their own reception. They could have their own red carpet. If they
their own band.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But they expect it is protocol.
Sure.
To greet heads of state with the State Department and with administration officials. And of course, in the case of Netanyahu, they were snubbed. We were talking at breakfast this morning amongst the fellas, and Trump is in a pickle with Iran. He can't win. The MAGAs will say finish the job, and yet that's insane because continued bombing is going to deliver the same result, which is to be catastrophic for American allies and American bases in the region. Every time America bombs them, the Strait of Hormuz is closed for a longer period of time, and America's bases are further decimated in the region. So, bombing and continuing the kinetic war in Iran is wholly untenable, and the only ones that could actually say finish the job are insane, continuing the same thing and expecting a different result. So there is no way for him to win in a war. He has signed a surrender document. That was the memorandum of understanding at Versailles. And he was so mocked for having signed a surrender document that he cheated on it and then blamed the Iranians for cheating on it so he could go back to war. And then he had his military say, you can't continue to do this because we're out of munitions and we have no targets left. And we're not going to continue to hit civilian targets because that's a war crime. So there is nothing he can do other than just sail away and claim victory while acknowledging the world acknowledges defeat. So if you were advising Donald Trump, and I'm not Satan's advisor, and I'm on the other side, but you would think that there'd be somebody there with enough gray matter that could advise Donald Trump as to what his one card that he has to play. And he has one card that he can play that he can get out of this problem. And that card just walked down the steps of that airplane there. And it's not the guy on the left. What's the card that he can play? Neville Chamberlain. No. God, no.
Oh.
Hell no. I'm surprised you guys don't know. The card that he can play is the Neville Chamberlain card.
Oh, yeah.
He sacrifices Israel. He sacrifices Israel. That's a plum that Iran would absolutely take and give America much better terms in its surrender if he surrenders Israel.
He can't do that. He can't do that yet. He's dangling.
Yes,
he's dangling the Abraham Accords with in front of MBS for nukes.
You're missing the whole damn thing. No, the Abraham Accords require the surrender of Israel. They require Israel to give up its heart to make Israel vulnerable. The Muslims don't want a second state. They hate the Fakistanians. They do not want a Fakistanian state other than to use the Fakistanian state to make Israel indefensible and vulnerable so they can perpetrate Al-Aqsa Mosque 2.0 and attack Israel from the inside and the outside. And so all Trump has to do is to say, I will force the sacrifice of Israel, the waste of Israel, to create a Fakistanian state. And I do that. You sign some meaningless Abraham Accords that makes it look like it's really a peace deal, because we'll cloak it and peace for our time. Neville Chamberlain talk is how we'll cloak it. We'll work out a deal where Iran now will play along in support of this. We'll claim that we've achieved the greatest peace deal of all time. Israel is torn to pieces. It's the only card he has to play, is the sacrifice of the heart and soul of Israel by giving the Fakistanian Muslims a state. And now, from Israel's point of view, the three leading opposition leaders are all in favor of a two-state dissolution. And the reason all three are in favor is they are better gifted at math than Rich. They can count past 3 times 40. At this point, the demographics of Israel don't allow the survival of Israel. And that is because if you tried to reincorporate Gaza into Israel, and you continue to expand Judea and Samaria into what's called the West Bank, and you consider the birth rates of Muslims that are actually inside of what is recognized as Israel, you go from having a Muslim population that is about 25% of the total to a Muslim population that is 50% of the total and growing rapidly. And so if you continue to have a parliamentary system, we'll call it a democracy for lack of a better term, although that's really a stupid term. But in that parliamentary system, you give the Muslims a 50% of the vote, and it's no longer a Jewish state. Your country is owned by your enemy. And so by creating a Fakistanian state, they take all of the Muslims and they have all of those votes for Fakistan. And so that's what they're looking at and saying, well, that'll give us a little breathing room in terms of continuing to have a Jewish state. But what they're not thinking is that the Muslims in Israel are not going to leave to be part of that Fakistanian state. They're still going to claim citizenship of Israel, and the Muslims are going to want them to do so to continue to destabilize Israel. And Israel then can't say, well, since you have your own state, you can only vote there, because then Israel will be condemned for being an apartheid state. So Israel is in a checkmate situation with this. They can't oppose the United States because the United States is their only weapons supplier. And their only ally in the world, and they can't kowtow to the United States without it being the destruction of Israel. So they have been checkmated, and while I don't think Donald Trump is smart enough to have figured that out, there has to be somebody within his inner circle that is sufficiently anti-Semitic, which is the majority of them, to make that proposal. J.D. Vance or some other character, Rubio, Marco Rubio would be the other one that could potentially make that scenario. Stephen Miller is another one that could propose that scenario. But one of the three is going to propose that scenario by positioning Trump as Neville Chamberlain, peace in our time. That's his out card. And with it, we have the destruction of Israel right in the midst of the time of trouble. If I were a betting man, I would bet that that's the scenario that's ultimately going to come to the fro.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. You've talked about it in your writings before that's going to happen, just the way you played it out. But it's to me, it's just a matter of time of when it happens. It's almost, I wouldn't say 100% assured.
Yeah, we know that Israel is going to be forced into a treaty with many nations, and 95% of the world's nations through the United Nations would vote against Israel and the creation of a Muslim state. Palestine will be free and all that rot. So the only way you could have an agreement with many nations, as it is foretold, or to have Israel become vulnerable at her core and indefensible, where the majority of people live, as it's presented in Yasha'yah 17, is for this scenario to play out. So I'm convinced it will play out, because the prophets have never been wrong, and it's going to play out over the next year's time. And the perpetrator is clearly going to be the United States, because that's what the prophets have said is going to happen. And it clearly will be the great betrayer, Donald Trump, who takes the lead role in it. But it is the one card that he holds. He's not giving something that he has. It's Neville Chamberlain didn't give the UK to achieve peace. He gave Czechoslovakia, and this will be the Sudanland, and it'll have exactly the same result. Within a year's time of the sacrifice, Israel will be back in a war 1,000 times worse than Alaska flood.
Yeah, it's bait. I don't see how he can offer the same bait, the Temple Mount, a two-state solution, to Iran, and then to Saudi Arabia at the same time, right? Because either one of them wants it, but
no, they both want the same. They both want the same thing. In this regard, both of them hate the Fakistanians. Both of them just use the Fakistanians as cannon fodder. They both want the acclaim of knowing that it was they who made this happen. And if you have So Iran would accept it as trade for some other concession in this war. They're not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz, but their reparations demands or something may go down, because this is a fundamental desire of Iran and the destruction of Israel to have this. So Iran's going to take credit for it in the sense that it's their war that caused it to happen. Saudi Arabia will take credit for it because Saudi Arabia will be in a position where MBS has lost all credibility and all esteem in the world. He has been shown to be nothing but a stuffed shirt. He has lost it. He has no means of defending Saudi Arabia from Iran.
Can't even fight back against the Houthis.
Right.
Yeah.
He can't. No. In fact, he just got clobbered by the Houthis. Something that also happened to America. The Houthis defeated America and Saudi Arabia. So since he is such a shell of himself in a country where you make that kind of mistake and you're not even king, one of his siblings is going to do him in, or his countrymen will do him in, because it's an embarrassment to Islam, what's happened. So his only way out right now is A, to end the war with Iran, and this could be used to end that war, and B, for him to be part of it by agreeing with the Abraham Accords to bring it into fruition, saying this was always our demand and therefore we are to be credited for this. So they'll both claim credit.
Right.
So no, I don't think it's difficult to pull off at all. I think it's an exceedingly easy thing to pull off, and I think that Israel, because all three of the leading opposition leaders are all in favor of it. And Netanyahu is so compromised, he can't stop it. And Israel actually trusts the betrayer Trump. And in fact, the prophets say that that this egomaniacal leader of the United States makes all manner of promises to protect Israel when they make this sacrifice. And then when it comes time to honor them, he does nothing. So they're setting themselves up. Future history delivered today. All right, so this is another picture of Moscow. It's just on and on. It's really look at the black smoke from that fire. It's an industrial building. It's probably somewhat near the airport. That could well have been what was being seen.
Yeah, see how far back it goes there? Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah. Bad, isn't it?
Like a storm cloud. Ooh. Miles.
Yep. So, if you're a Russian, what are you going to say? What is it about our president that won't defend us?
It's a shame. It's I don't understand it either. Something has happened to him, I guess. I don't know. He looks a lot older now than he did, and a lot more unsure of himself than he did.
He looked terrible in that when he was trying to give the excuse as to why I would like to be brave and I'd like to be bold. He said, actually, I'd like to be brave, but we're going to be guarded and cautious, and we're going to stick to the plan. He was
leading
really,
the country. When you're leader of your country, you don't want to hear, I would like to be bold. You want to hear something a little more positive than that.
Well, I don't play politics. I've been out of the game of politics now for 25 years, so I'm not going to advise him on his politics. I know a lot about leadership, and there's nothing wrong with being a leader. That's part of our role. And I can tell you that if you're going to be a leader and be in God's company, you are going to be bold. You're going to be a Gabor, and you're going to be Shazak, because the purpose is to model what God wants done. This is an interesting update on the Netanyahu visit to Trump's whorehouse. You've J.D. Vance, who has gone on record now 3 times and assailed Israel 3 times. So J.D. Vance can't pee without asking Trump, where can I pee, and can I pee now, please? And 3 times now he's gone after Netanyahu in Israel. The most vicious was when he told Israel that you're complaining that you think you were betrayed in the memorandum of understanding, which they were. They were completely checkmated and betrayed by the United States. He says you have no right to do that because at this point you only have one country that is in your corner. You have no other allies, and you only have one head of state that will even tolerate you. And they supply the overwhelming majority of your weaponry. And you will cease to exist if you do not acknowledge the great debt that you have to Donald Trump and the United States. In other words, we'll see to it that you don't exist. That speech was really vile. That was the one that came right after the Memorandum of Understanding, where Trump not only surrendered, but he betrayed Israel in the process, checkmating Israel. So they had no move. But since then, he has done things like gone on Joe Rogan, where he has said that Israel has tried to influence the American politics for years, and this has to stop. There will be no more Israeli influence in American politics. And he, by the way, is a new recent convert to Roman Catholicism. So he is picked up right on his the cue to be an anti-Semite. So we're really witnessing an interesting situation. Now, he was invited to the meetings with Netanyahu today. And remember when he was part of the meetings with Zelensky, and Zelensky didn't wear his best. Oh yeah, yeah. So I'd get your popcorn out for this one. If whether it is this meeting or the next one or the next one, sometime in the next number of months, there's going to be a Zelensky-style meeting in the White House, and J.D. Vance has the acidic tongue to pull off that, where Trump is just strictly demonic. He'll just drool all over himself. But an interesting position that Netanyahu will be placed in.
And J.D. Vance is there to be vitriolic and retarded in their treatment of the other head of state, so that Trump doesn't look bad. I mean, he's doing exactly.
Trump's going to look bad no matter what happens. But he's Trump's club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking the Zelensky thing, though. That is exactly what he's there to do. Mister, you better appreciate what we've done for you, and you need to show some appreciation. Yeah, that's exactly what JD's going to do.
When Trump was the one that attacked Zelensky, and when Zelensky came back and said that's not fair, it was J.D. Vance who stomped on his head. Same thing will happen with Netanyahu.
Oh, I don't think Bibi's dumb enough to take that bait, though. I think that I don't know that he'll knuckle under, but he won't try to posture the way Zelensky did.
He won't posture but Zelensky didn't say a whole lot. He was just reprimanded and taunted into that bashing that he got. Yes, Netanyahu has been in these situations for a long time. He knows that he is a vassal. He knows that he has no influence whatsoever anymore. He knows that what he wanted in Iran is gone, that it cannot be achieved. There will be no control over Iran's nuclear program. There'll be no control over Iran's missile program, and there'll be no regime change in Iran. And there's nothing he or America can do about that. And so he wants a state of ongoing war, and for no purpose, and he's not going to get it. So he's done now. Whether he just takes his beating and looks like a wimp, or he takes his beating and looks like a chump. I mean, it's either way. It's going to be the Zelensky kind of thing. The difference is that when Zelensky left, the world at large sided with Zelensky and was opposed to Trump.
Oh, yes, that's going to be a very different reaction. Everybody's going to be, tell that Jew, get that Jew out of American politics. Oh, yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's correct. So Netanyahu is not going to have any support anywhere.
No.
And so it's really going to be, it doesn't matter what Netanyahu says. because
Yes, absolutely.
he cannot prevail. He has no chance of winning support. He cannot prevail. And I think he's going, isn't he going to New York to give some kind of speech at the UN too? Or yeah, I know he's going to New York because it's the great showdown between Mandami and he in New York City. And they just did a poll of Jewish Americans, and Jewish Americans support the Marxist Muslim by a ratio of 2-1 over Netanyahu.
Wasn't he under threat of being arrested by the UN
Yes.
and by Mandami? Okay, and yet
Not by the UN, but by Mandami. Yeah.
okay, he was okay.
Yeah, the guy that led the trumped up charges against him, Khan, yeah, he's been relieved. I mean, he
Okay.
was abusing women. He was accused of it, and finally he's been relieved from his post. So nobody wants to mention, yeah, he's accused of being a war criminal, but only by a man who was abusing women. So we'll see how it all plays out. Yeah, here's Zelensky, the two people at the bottom. That's his flight crew. They are just so pathetic. Okay. This one you'll see the size of the drone, and they shoot it down, but a little too late. Look at the size of that drone. Come on.
Wow.
You know, if you're shooting it down and you're already in the suburbs of Moscow, it doesn't do you a whole hell of a lot of good to shoot it down, does it? There's another one there, the shot of it. Yeah.
And those markings on those towers behind them have significance, correct? They're every 30 feet or so many meters on these towers, and so the wingspan on that thing was huge.
Well, yeah, those are the condensation evaporation towers for the refinery, and yeah, you look at the wingspan of that thing. So for it to get all the way to Moscow, a drone of that size, and it's winged, so it's not flying all that fast. That's is pretty damn pathetic of the Russian air defense systems for it to have gotten all the way there.
Wow.
Yeah, they keep on playing this game. The next one's going to land in the Kremlin. Then what?
They've tried. They just haven't made it work yet. But they've been trying.
They've been trying. Yeah. Yeah, this just do watch Marxists promoting Palestine will be free, and Marxist women. They have got to be the most brainless creature on the planet. I mean, if you were to compare a Marxist woman and a garden slug, I think if you were to hold a debate between them, the garden slug would win 8 out of 10 rounds. You know, here is a Marxist woman who would consider herself, pro women's causes, promoting a religion that has colonized 57 countries, murdered 250 million people in the process, financed its religion and its conquests on the slave trade, is so misogynist that women have no rights and have to run around wearing tents, that legalizes pedophilia and rape, it stones women to death for not wearing a tent in public, and that whose own scriptures are genocidal. And yet these Marxist women are so moronic that they're promoting that. It just boggles the mind that there could be humans on the planet that are this ignorant, irrational, and immoral. But there are.
I was going to say it's one thing to be ignorant, another thing to be stupid. But if you put them two together, you got a truly unique kind of individual.
Yes, they cease to be human.
You see, yeah.
They cease to be human. Of course, she would claim to be an environmentalist, and one's holding a plastic bottle of water, and the other's got her little lime-colored purse there. Victory for what? V. Victory for what? I mean, play it just because you can see the vile nature of their expressions and what stupid really looks like. That is what stupid looks like.
Yep.
That is, and all the little people behind them. They're all Marxists. They're all Marxist youth that have been indoctrinated, that don't even have 3 functioning brain cells to connect. I mean, when God says, I disparaged having created humanity, that's what he is talking about right there. And that's not, I mean, God's biggest issue is religion. They're not even religious. And look at it. He just said, there is no good. You're all rotten all of the time. I'm sorry that I created you. It was a mistake. Proof. Those lives are worthless. They're counterproductive.
I don't understand this Berg person. Innocent Iranians are being hanged by the Islamic regime. German leftists are flying the flag of their killers, and the Palestinians and the Kufa, the Kifa. I mean, so I'm okay with the Muslim Iran stuff. I support them, but I'm completely against, or I'm okay with the Palestinians killing women and murdering women, and but I'm not okay with the Iranians doing that. This is just so confusing to me. Why this person is upset about them flying?
But it's because they're incapable of thought. They're incapable of making intelligent connection between. I mean, stupid is stupid. You cannot pick stupid. These two women don't have a 5 IQ between them. And if you were to poll all of the men and women that are immediately behind them, you couldn't get 100 IQ out of 100 of them. I mean, I'm serious. A garden slug is more cerebral than all of. If they were put up against an octopus, it would be a catastrophic loss.
I'm going to paraphrase Carville and say, it's Islam, stupid. Can we not just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's Islam, stupid. Yes.
No, but Marxism Marxism has actually been more vile than Islam over the past 75 years to 100 years, actually 100 years. Marxism, socialism, communism, fascism, which is a form of socialism, killed more people, deprived more people of freedom, deprived more people of meaningful education, of prosperity. Marxism has been worse for humanity over the last 100 years than has been Islam. So there is a foe to the world that is worse than Islam today, and that is Marxism. And unfortunately, the Marxists are now promoting Islam.
Absolute babble.
This is such a mess. Our midterms come up, and America's midterms in November, early November. Israel's are late October. They're not midterms, but that's the parliamentary election, the Knesset election, where they'll have their finagling to see if they can put together a coalition government by bribing people. The situation in Israel is desperate. You've got 3 of the 4 the 3 opposition leaders. There's 3 of them. The exceedingly liberal Lapid, the moderately liberal Naftali, and the Enigma, because nobody really knows what his politics are, Eisenkot. They collectively, in a coalition, cannot beat Netanyahu's coalition. It's true right now that Eisenkot is outpolling the Likud party, but the Haredim parties and the religious right-wing parties are so uniform in their support of that coalition to preclude the Haredi from having to fight and defend the country, and to continue the stipends for the Haredi to continue to be parasites destroying the country. And they're put in that position because Netanyahu needs them for his coalition. He's not prime minister without them, and if you bribe them, they will support you to some degree. But because they are collectively about 25% of Israel, and because the liberals are about 25% of Israel, they simply offset each other. And then you have the Arab parties, which are about 20 to 25% of the vote. And if you pull them out, there isn't enough remaining for the opposition parties to overcome that the stranglehold of the parasites, the Black Death of the Haredi. And so I don't know what they're going to do. Netanyahu has lost favor apart from the Haredi parties that are on a gravy train because of him. But how do the opposition parties prevail? And if it's a stalemate, which means that nobody can get 61 seats out of the Knesset to vote for them or hold that together, then Netanyahu continues, and there's just another vote, and you go through vote. What did they do one time? Like 6 or 7 of these things, and Netanyahu survives all the time. Well, nobody can form a government, so it's the Netanyahu government over and over and over and over again. Netanyahu has destroyed Israel. He destroyed Israel by his response to 10/7, by then destroying Gaza, by then 2 wars in Lebanon, by 2 wars in Iran, and by losing the entire world, so that the entire world now hates Israel. So Netanyahu has destroyed Israel. And I don't care what you are as a right-wing nutcase. This is no longer about left and right in Israel. It's just not. Netanyahu has destroyed the country, and I don't think there is a way to get it back. I think you're in a downward death spiral and have been checkmated. But in this particular piece, it's Ben-Gur, who is he is worse, I think, than Stephen Miller. He's a really, really bad man, and he has because he's as a minority, for him to stay in the coalition, he is bribed with a seat in the government, and his seat in the government, he controls the Israeli police. And so what he's told the Israeli police is that they cannot arrest the Haredi protesters against them being drafted. And the High Court has just overturned that and said that it's not reasonable. You can't do that. But he is really vicious in all of this. He is also the one that's inciting the settlers and Judea and Samaria to attack the Palestinians, which is turning the world against Israel even harder. And he's complaining here that Eisenkot made a deal with Golan, who is a head of another one of the many parliamentary parties that will make up the Knesset in this next election. And Golan knows that if he gets 15 seats and he joins the Eisenkot coalition, that he's going to be Secretary of Defense. That's the job that he wants. And so Gur is having a conniption fit that a deal was made to garner those votes for the opposition, when in fact he is sitting in a position only because he played the same card with half that number of Knesset seats.
Right. Unbelievable. Politicians they never cease to amaze with their absolute, this idea that I just got done. I just got done doing the exact same thing for fewer seats, but this guy's a horrible person for doing it, right? Mm-hmm. It's never ceases to amaze. And with a straight face, they do this, knowing that everyone that's watching.
Ben-Gur doesn't have a straight face. Yeah, you can say with the hypocrisy to do this, but you can't ever say that. Ben-Gur's famous for wearing even his kippah off kilter. This man's tie is off kilter. His suit is off kilter. His life is off kilter. Everything about this man is off kilter. There is nothing straight or on the level about Ben-Gur.
No right angles.
No right angles with Ben-Gur.
It's the uniqueness of the parliamentarian system.
Oh,
System.
that's for Israel to have been harassed by Great Britain the way they were, and then for Israel to accept that parliamentary system, which is the system of bribes. It's just such a tragedy that they have it and proceed with it. It's just disgusting that they can't vote for a politician. Whoever gets the most votes is prime minister, but they can't do that. And what they get is the stalemate of the Haredim and the opposition having to do a deal with the Arab parties. And in this particular case, I will tell you emphatically that if you're an Israeli, the Arab parties are less hostile to your survival than the Haredi.
Wow.
That's how bad it's become.
That's a statement. Wow. That is a statement.
Yeah.
Yes. If I were in Israel and I had to, first, I'm not in politics, so I wouldn't do it, but if I were in Israel and I had to do such a thing, well, I've just turned to nothing but fuzz, and Rich just walked away. So we don't know how long this stream is going to go. But if I were in Israel and I was forced to choose a partner, Ram or one of the three Haredi partners, I'd choose Ram.
Wow.
Yeah, this
one was
interesting. Fun. Yeah, this is fun, but yeah, it's interesting. So the story here is before being burned alive by the Spaniards, Hatui, a leader of the Haitian tribe, and by the way, most of the local islands here in the Caribbean, they were dominated by cannibals, like the island I'm on, which is called St. Cruz, but it's St. Croix because it was named that by Columbus, who actually found the consequence of the cannibals because he came ashore here at what's called Salt River because he needed to replenish his water supplies, and one of his crew was eaten here. The cannibals from the local island, the other islands, like in his case, the native population of St. Croix, which was a different name at the time. We don't even know what its name is because all of the prior inhabitants were eaten. And they were eaten by the cannibals from what is now Puerto Rico. And this now is Haiti, which is probably even a rougher environment. So this guy that would be exceedingly cruel, cannibals are cruel, typically, that he is saying that he did not want to convert to Christianity and go to heaven because he was told by the Spanish priests that the thugs that were part of the Spanish conquerors that were so ruthless throughout the Americas were in heaven. He said, I'd rather go to hell than spend time with such cruel people. If you're crueler than a cannibal, that's really bad. But what Spain and Roman Catholicism did in the New World is one of the great tragedies of human history. They wiped out 99% of the indigenous population. Mm-hmm. They robbed it. They tortured them. They imposed their God-forsaken piece of shit religion on them. And they were cruel. They were vicious, and it was a full integration of the military and the priests. They were as one. I don't think there's a worse expression of religion than what happened with the Roman Catholics and Spanish as they came into this hemisphere.
I believe they also brought the gift of syphilis with them as well.
Yeah, they clearly did. Syphilis, it looks like it was first contracted in, I think it's the UK, but it's certainly in Europe. And a Roman Catholic monastery. And the priests in the Roman Catholic monastery were doing sheepies. They were into bestiality, and they were doing sheep. And it passed from sheep to humans because that was their sexual entertainment. And they infected then one another as they started doing one another in addition to the sheepies. And that's how syphilis spread initially in Europe, and then it was taken here to the this hemisphere. Another really lovely accoutrement of Christianity. So breaking. Oh boy, breaking. When you hear breaking, you know you're in trouble. And this is from Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Breaking. We just discovered that the main culprit responsible for rigging the 2026 midterm elections against Republicans. So they haven't happened yet. Hard to believe. He's been so I can't read it, but something about it.
Blatant about it.
Blatant about it. So I don't know if this is they're trying to blame Trump for rigging them, which he would do everything he can to rig them. But this is oh, I know what he said.
This is the montage. This is quite the montage. We're going to watch this one. Yeah.
Okay, quite the montage. Here's the deal. When Trump was Trump 45 and early in Trump 47, he positioned himself as a kingmaker. If he ordained you, or if he chose you, if he picked you over another candidate and told MAGAs to vote for you, you typically won, and the candidate that he opposed typically lost. And so Trump viewed himself as a kingmaker, and he garnered loyalty, at least support, by knowing that if you support Trump, you can stay in office, and if you oppose Trump, look at Massey, you are voted out of office, and it happened routinely. Then something happened to the Trump mojo, where it became so obvious that there's no reason for him to endorse people for the midterms because he's going to get his clock clean. And so what he did is he really stopped endorsing others. He stopped saying the kinds of things that would cause Republicans to be electable. And so you have to ask, why would somebody who knows that he's going to be impeached and convicted if he loses the Congress and the House and the Senate, why would he just abandon everybody? Say, I don't give a crap about the economy. I don't give a crap about inflation. I don't I care about the midterms. I don't care about any of this stuff. Why would he say such things? And that's what he's saying in his montage. And the reason is really quite simple. He hates everybody. He just hates everybody. He doesn't like the idea now of even having to campaign for somebody. He doesn't like having the idea of even being bothered with the election of somebody. He doesn't want the notion that his will not prevail and cause the person he would prefer over someone else to be elected. He doesn't want the blame for losing in that regard. And so since he's on a revenge tour, not only with against Democrats, but against members of his own party and against not only America, but the world, he doesn't give a crap. His whole deal is scorched earth. He's Satan. And he and those two guys that are the clowns on either side of him, they are scorched earth. They're going to destroy the planet. And what you've seen here is really interesting. Over the last week, rather than Trump paying any attention to the midterms, it's all Trump 28, isn't it? All of the presentation is look how messianic Trump is. Look how Trump is the savior of America. Look at Trump with his Trump 28 hat. It's all Trump 28 as opposed to the midterms. He's saying, okay, so what? I'm not going to even pay attention. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of me acknowledging what's going to happen in the midterms. I don't care about them. All I care about is me and Trump 28.
Yeah, because that's all that's going to matter.
Yep. So you can play some of this. It is an interesting montage.
Economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. We'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Affordability is a hoax.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing.
Sir, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning. Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up. I don't care about the midterms. Economic system.
Yeah.
Wow. Any one of those sound bites is enough not to get a past politician reelected, right? Any one of them
Anyone
would be hammered home in an election.
Yeah.
And
But Trump is the confabulation genius. He is Mr. Chaos. He is Satan incarnate. He throws out so much stupidity that people are dizzy, that they don't even know which one of those to attack. So here you go. You have a montage, and it just goes right over people's head. Those who hate him continue to hate him. Those who love him continue to love him, and the in between don't know what to do, because their alternative and the Democrats is Marxism, with a complete lack of intelligence and hope for the country. So it really does put things in a mess. America is far worse off than Israel is in this regard, because you do have about 39% that are MAGA morons. You have about 40% that are Democrat Marxists and are complete counter to anything that's intelligence. And that swing vote doesn't want either of them, and there is no option in the middle. So what do? You got 40 on one side, 40 on another. It's 80, and you got the remaining 20 saying and neither. So what happens? I don't think the outcome is as obvious as the Democrats think it is, because all they have done so far is show that their only candidates that they will nominate are communists, and that they will in cities and in states where they dominate, they're the dominant party, they will nominate the most extreme of them as a communist, and then they will vote for that communist. That's not going to work in a national election.
Well, it also seems that pretty obvious one of the natural attributes of the Rahab is extreme narcissism. This guy's all about himself all the time.
All the time. That's all he cares about. Yep. He is a POS with a little TU in the middle of it. So how is it that someone is so ignorant that they showcase their own stupidity on X and Grok promotes it? So here is 8 billion humans allowing Israel to Holocaust the Palestinians and steal their country. There is no Palestine. There has never been a Palestine. Even when there were Philistines 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they were invaders from Crete, and they were terrorists. So there was never a Palestine, ever. Not even a Philistina. There were Philistines, but they didn't have a country. They were invaders, as they say, from Crete. So there is no one stealing their country. It's the stealing has been done over the last 1,400 years, and you've got 57 countries throughout the northern Africa and the Middle East and into Asia that were stolen by Muslim thugs that killed 250 million people in the process. That was the Holocaust. 250 million people dead, stealing countries, enslaving the people, raping the women, and they remain under the control of Muslims. And so it's the Muslims that have perpetrated the genocide, the apartheid, and the Holocaust, In fact, it was Muslims that sided with the Nazis to create the Holocaust in the first place. And all the while, there has never been a Palestinian nor a Palestine. Wake up. Good grief. I mean, this is not something that I went and looked for and found. This is what's served up to me by Grok. That means Grok is as stupid or as immoral or both as Wake Up, who wrote this. It's just vile. I mean, there's nothing you can say to it other than
the only thing I think you missed was how can they use to holocaust as a verb? Holocaust is a noun. It is an event.
Right.
It is one event describing one thing. To holocaust and steal. No, holocaust is not a verb. That's the only thing I think that we.
Well, thank you for the grammar. I didn't know you were a grammarian, but okay. Well,
I'm not. But I just.
I'm sorry
it pinged me.
for missing. Yes, to Holocaust. Yes.
And they just keep
they did that. They did that to misrepresent, just as they misrepresent what the term genocide means. They misrepresent what the Holocaust was, and they want to claim that rather than the Jews being subject to a Holocaust, the Jews are the perpetrators of the Holocaust because the entire world is upside down from them. They have miserable little lives, and who knows what else is miserable and tiny. And they all they can do is blame someone else for their miserable, disgusting little lives. That is the nature. That's the nature of these idiots that promote such conspiratorial scum. Is they have miserable little lives, and they're looking for someone else to blame for their own failures. Common thread amongst all conspiratorialists everywhere.
It's the I hate Israel propaganda of the day. Tomorrow will be something else.
Yep. So here, this is he's in Air Force 1, 2, 3, who knows what number, and he's got this picture of himself in Technicolor, and he's doing his stupid little dance in his aircraft. And they said it can't be stopped. Trump 2028, and he's a patriot. So now it's patriotic to oppose the U.S. Constitution.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's the new definition of a patriot. Is that rather than defend the Constitution, you oppose the Constitution. Rather than fight for what is moral and right, you fight on behalf of a rapist and pedophile who is a destructive warmonger and thief. Congratulations, patriot. You have redefined this level of depravity to which humans have succumbed. Is succumb a verb? I think so.
Yeah, no, you're okay there. Yeah, that one's solid.
So here they're posting, and most of the time they make these posts. Like there's one on Assange says, forget Russia, the Jews are the greatest threat to humanity. And Assange never made such a thing, but it's posted routinely and sponsored by Grok and Meta AI as being legit when it's just untrue. But in this particular case, unfortunately, the statement was sort of made. You can't put in the quotations, Jews are the most despicable of them, of humans, because of the fact that that is not the actual quote. He says, I have avoided doing anything which could show any esteem for the most despicable of mankind. So he did not say Jews are the most despicable of mankind. The context of the letter infers that's the case, but you can't put that within the quotation because you're misrepresenting the quotation. In the case of Napoleon, he was not much of an expert on such things. At this point, he had failed miserably as a leader of France. He was exiled for his failures as a leader of France. He was lamenting his doom, and like all losers at that point, he was looking for someone to blame. So he was writing his brother in correspondence, and he says, I have undertaken to reform the Jews. Now, what manner of ego would have a Frenchman say that I have taken to reform the Jews? Were the Jews fighting him? No. So why would he want to reform the Jews? Were the Jews committing criminal acts against him? No. What's the purpose other than to say he was trying to reform the whole world into his vision of himself, which is just nothing but egomaniacal. But I have not endeavored to draw more of them into my realm. So he's saying that I have quarantined them. I don't want any more of them in. I tried to fix the ones that were here. You didn't even say what he tried to fix them of, other than maybe they didn't support him to the degree that he wanted to be worshipped as if he were a god. And then he says, I have avoided doing anything which would show any esteem for the most despicable of mankind. So, well, this statement does appear in one of his letters. Napoleon was the typical hypocrite. He had the decree, we call the infamous decree in March of 1808, which restricted Jewish money lending and residency in France. So he was clearly an anti-Semite in that regard. And his other things that he did when he needed to garner Jewish favor that were viewed positively. But he was symbolic of most European Christians who are grossly anti-Semitic and blame the Jews falsely for killing their God. A, God is not a man. B, men cannot kill God. And C, the Jews were never involved in crucifixion ever. So the whole thing is a lie at the level of the debate between the octopus and the slug. But nevertheless, Christians aren't very smart, and he wasn't either. Just because he strategized himself into several winning scenarios, he proved at Waterloo that he was an absolute idiot, and he proved in Russia that he would sacrifice 9 out of 10 of his men for nothing but his ego. So, you win a few, you lose a few. That does not make you a great man, and particularly when you consider the number of people who were killed as a result of his ego.
Yeah, it's almost like he was alluding to the reforms of the Inquisition, that if we could just make those Jews Christian enough, that they'd be all right, right? I mean, that was, what the hell?
Yeah, the torch will continue until morale improves.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty pathetic. Yeah, Messianic Trump. This is the way they present him, and yet you want to know the real Trump, that picture they won't want to present, but he is trying to walk towards his chauffeur-dimmered limousine, and just in mid-stride, he didn't trip. He just collapses and falls on the pavement, and he can't get up.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, no, he was it was shown on a lot of media outlets. He's just walking towards the his chauffeured limousine out of a building for going someplace, and doesn't trip. He just literally completely collapses on the asphalt, and he can't get up. Somebody has to literally pull him back up.
Right. Reminds me of the Hillary Clinton episode when she was getting where they scooted her off into the SUV, where she loses her shoe and the whole 9 yards. Back when she was running for president.
Yeah. This is not losing the shoe. This is literally his legs collapsed. His legs stopped working. His arms stopped working. He turned into a puddle of goo on the street.
Wow.
And could not get up. Made no attempt to get up. He had to be pulled up. Yep. Yeah, he's in bad shape. We'll go one more.
Yesterday was okay. I was just going to say that yesterday's Luminary episode, the most exciting 6 minutes in the Torah. I mean, you delivered. You didn't just.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, right.
I am positive that no one has ever seen that story from that perspective. And and the story makes no sense from any other perspective than that perspective. And the clues are everywhere that my understanding of the perspective is exactly what Yahweh intended.
Yeah.
The real story of what happened alongside the Nile with the Amma, with Jochebed, with Amram, and the raising of Moshe. It's a marvelous story that God orchestrated, and I think it's the most interesting 6 minutes in the Torah, the way that it plays out. This particular picture here, the GI Jesus. He's got his American flag. I'm GI Jesus, baby. I'm gonna lead the troops into battle. Gunther, what in the world's wrong with you? I mean, there was no Jesus. God is hugely anti-politics and anti-religion. And the country that God lashes out against more viciously than any other is the one represented by that flag that is in the process of betraying Israel. So, no, there is no GI Jesus. You're absolutely wrong. I will go one more. I don't want that one to be the last image that we...
I don't know that this one gets better.
Oh, yeah, there you go. We might have to do one more after this. This one, I was just going to say, they're claiming that Roman Catholicism reigns above the Anglican Church and the Lutheran Church and the Methodist Church and the wee old little Baptist churches down there. And I would just say guilty is admitted. You made your confession. You're the one responsible for the reprehensible consequences of Christianity, and you're going to claim that you are the mother of all of those churches. Then I will accept your confession, and I will be glad to hold you accountable. Guilty as admitted. Yeah. Christianity has been, and the Roman Catholic Church has been one of the greatest scourges in the history of humanity.
It all goes right back to Rome.
Yeah,
this picture is missing
all based on a lie.
It's missing the 10 little horns that are on the beast with iron teeth that tramples the world, isn't it? There's only 5 of them pictured here.
Yeah, and what they didn't show here is the myth that the Roman Catholic Church did not emerge on the top of Capitine Hill. The Roman Catholic Church evolved out of Imperial Rome, which is the beast that precedes it. And so they ought to have paid attention to the prophecy in the book that they call the Bible, because it has the Roman Catholic Church evolving out of the beast that is Imperial Rome. So they need to move down a slot on their totem pole there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, there we go. Twirling girls. Oh, it's beautiful. They have nice legs at least, and isn't that
we can end on this one? I mean,
yeah,
nice
there
legs.
they are. They're who can ever criticize a pretty girl? But here's vivid. I'm just so ashamed of you, destroying Israel by promoting insanity. Your dream of regime change is absolutely idiotic. It was Babylon, which is essentially Persia now, that destroyed your temple. It was Assyria, essentially Babylon, and Persia now, with Assyria that destroyed your first temple, and Babylon that was the second temple. These are not your friends. They enslaved Israel around 701, 702 BCE. They came back and did the same in the 6th century BCE. To pretend that you're going to dance with the pretty girl of the Persians when they have been your enemy is insane. On top of all of that, they were among the first conquered by Muslims. The country has been exclusively Islamic since that time. And the Muslims have had a 1,400-year commitment to exterminating every Jew and wiping Israel off the face of the earth. And they have perpetrated apartheid and genocide towards you. They are not going to be dancing with you. This idea that you were going to get regime change and the Iranians were going to love Jews is not even remotely possible. It is the kind of nonsense that causes politicians to go off and do stupid things. Yeah, even Eisenkot, who was lead general and defense minister in Israel, said that Netanyahu's goals in the Iranian war were unachievable. There was no chance of getting regime change, and everything else he had attempted to do was impossible. But Vivid is a bullheaded promoter of the man who is destroying Israel, of Netanyahu. He is even a big time promoter of Donald Trump, the great betrayer. He's that stupid. And here he is going on and promoting this we're going to have the girls dance between Israel and an Islamic country. That is never going to happen. And to present such delusions is caustic to Israel's survival. You aren't promoting Israel, you're destroying it.
Exactly. You can't sleep with your enemy and expect a good outcome.
No, Israel, you've attacked Iran twice, viciously. And the Iranians have perpetrated all manner of harm on Israel. You are killing each other. You are attacking each other. You are not dancing together. That is not what bombings and terrorist attacks lead to. You've caused exactly the opposite. You want to present this accurately, you're clawing each other's eyes out. They're in a cat fight here, not dancing with them. You do not go, I may not be on the top of my game in dating, and that I've been married for a very long time, but I can tell you, you do not get the pretty girl by pulling her hair and kicking her in the shins and smacking her in the face, which is what Israel is doing to Iran, and what Iran has been doing to Israel. They've been involved in a 1,400-year-old hate fest, and before that, they were involved in a 1,400-year-old hate fest, because you go back another 1,400 years to Assyria. So it's been 2,800 years of hate.
Yeah. I think the only way these two are dancing together is if one of them is dancing on the other's grave. But that's just my opinion.
That is correct. And so why show it otherwise? It shows a complete ignorance of reality. It gives false hope. It causes people to think that Netanyahu's plan of attacking Iran twice was sane as opposed to insane. No, it's what you're doing is counterproductive. You're destroying Israel. You're not supporting Israel.
It's as if one of them is carrying a flower of peace and the other one's holding a sword of destruction. They just can't see
actually,
it.
there's no flower of peace for either one of them. They're both deadly, and they're deadly towards one another, and they have both been deadly towards one another for 2,800 years. And there is no exception in that time of 2,800 years. They've catastrophic together. So fantasies like this are what cause religion. They cause wars. You create a false scenario in the Gulf of Tonkin, and America goes off and loses 58,000 men in Vietnam. Well, Trump, by the other way, was talking about the Vietnam War. He said America lost 240,000 men in the Vietnam War. I don't know how you could be that out of touch with reality. It was 58,000. But the Gulf of Tonkin didn't occur. It was a fantasy. Blowing up the Maine, fantasy. Sinking of the Lusitania, fantasy. And it is the constant drumbeat of the delusions that cause people to do insane things when you do this kind of stuff. Just no, there is zero hope. And as a matter of fact, if you read your prophets, what you would find is that the Iranians are going to send 3 to 4 million jihadists into Israel, and they're going to ravage the place. Now, you may not be bothered by that, Vivid, because you're a phony. You don't even live in Israel. But that is what's going to happen. So that cute little girl right there, she's going to sponsor 4 million jihadists, far more ruthless and far better armed under far better missile and drone coverage than occurred on Alaska flood on October 7th of 2023. And 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to die. You want to dance to that? Because that's what you're going to endure. And largely because idiots like you are promoting fantasies. Maybe we'll end on that note. We'll continue with the Luminary series. We're into to Ruth. Ruth and Boaz, the greatest love
Starting
story
chapter
ever.
19, yeah.
Yeah, ever sold. I love that the Ruth and Boaz story. It is it's the core of the Torah. It is the ultimate prophecy of what will happen and how God's going to resolve the problem of his people. It comes at a devastating time for Israel, and this is the one ray of sunshine of hope for all of Israel. And it's just a beautiful story, and it shows God to be so vastly different than he is painted in religious circles. It is a very seductive, a very sensuous love story, and God is a huge proponent of this love story, and he is saying that this love story is going to deliver the Redeemer of Israel, and it does. So it's the antithesis of what the religious would promote. In fact, the sages of Israel are dead wrong. The women of Israel are dead wrong, and it shows them to be wrong, and it shows that ultimately a very small group of people, particularly in this case, there's just 2 of them, that their love will prevail, and they are capable of saving the covenant family. So happy to tell that story. We'll have 4 chapters. It'll take us a couple of weeks to probably get through it all, and then we're going to turn to Isaiah 10 and 11, because that is really going to open your eyes. It is so very different than what we have been led to believe. The job of the Choter is hugely more extreme and different than anybody has previously considered. So we'll turn to that as well. Thank you, both gentlemen. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Perry, for making this possible, and we'll be with you later this afternoon. It looks like we're going to even survive the rain. It's temperature has dropped here. The wind has picked up. When that does happen, you always wonder when the rain is coming. We could use it, so hope it happens. Talk soon.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.